Hey everyone, welcome to the show. So, I have some good news to share with you guys. Democrats managed to flip more seats in special elections that were held last week. And Republican operatives are now starting to admit that their party is doomed in the midterms. Before I get into all these juicy details, please do me a huge favor. Hit the subscribe button below. It is totally free for you. It truly helps. It tells YouTube also to show this content to more people. So it gets more eyeballs on it. Just sets the record straight for the midterms so that Republicans aren't going, oh, the elections were stolen when they inevitably lose. So here's what all went down. If you had not heard this, this was a fairly red city of Whittier, California, where three Democratic Party backed candidates, I should say, flipped seats that were held by Republicans. And one was James Becerra, the man that you see there on the left. He is now the new mayor of Whittier. Vicky Santana and Susie Macedo, they won their races for their respective city council seats. And the reason I say Democratic Party backed, and not Democratic candidates is because in these positions, you don't run under a party line. Like you're not a Democratic candidate or a Republican candidate, but the parties make it very clear based on your policies, based on your platform, who they support and who they don't. So, like I said, one of the most exciting things, besides the fact that they won, is that these races were just, they ran away with them. They just absolutely annihilated the competition. So, for example, as of Wednesday morning last week, Becerra had received 66% of the vote. His Republican challenger only got 31.9%. Santana scored 61% in her district. Her opponent got only 24.8%. And then Macedo was the biggest winner. She received 67% of the votes. Her Republican opponent received only 26.8%. So those numbers may have changed a little bit since, Wednesday's accounting, but I mean this is just huge. This is huge news considering that all three of these Republicans were incumbents. So they already held these seats. It's not like these were newcomers and, challenging Democratic backed newcomers as well. These Republicans had name recognition and they were obviously popular enough to win in the past. So this is just crazy, absolutely crazy in a good way. And those weren't the only Democratic wins last week. So you may or may not have heard this, but this is the biggest news. So, the Democratic candidate named Analilia, I think is how you pronounce her first name, Analilia Mejia, she secured the U.S. House seat that was left vacant when Democratic Congresswoman Mikey Sherrill, she resigned because she won her race for governor. So, I mentioned that months back. You guys, I'm sure, all know about that. But this is significant for a couple of reasons. So, this is Mejia that you see here on your screen. First of all, Mejia is an official Bernie Sanders progressive. She was the former head of the Working Families Alliance. Bernie Sanders was one of her backers. He endorsed her. She is an outspoken critic against Israel, against their genocide of the Palestinian people. And she won her primary race against another Democrat named Tom Malinowski. Now, Tom Malinowski had name recognition. He had been in Congress before. He was an Israel advocate. And then he like mildly didn't even criticize Israel, but he suggested that, maybe we ought to look at their aid. Maybe we should place some conditions around aid to Israel. Well, APAC, Israel's APAC ghouls went ballistic. They launched an ad campaign against him. And I think in their warped, archaic, 1990s view, they thought, oh, well, Mejia is the weaker candidate. So if we go after Malinowski, then the Republican will win in the general election, right? It's almost like they wanted Mejia to win the primary election so that she would purposely lose in the general election. So they completely shot themselves in the foot, or another part of their anatomy. um, so, I think in their mind, they're thinking, oh, well, since Malinowski's now turning on us and we know Mejia is against us, then we'll put a Republican in there and the Republican will do our bidding in Congress and will back Trump on everything that he wants based on, his leader, his owner, Bibi Netanyahu. Totally backfired. So Mejia ends up winning by almost 20 points. I mean, again, not even close. You can see here, she got almost 60% of the vote to the Republicans' 40%. And I want you guys to hear what Harry Enton had to say about special elections in general since Trump took office, because we are seeing this, just as you guys know, if you've been watching the show for a while, we've been seeing this across the board. This is not a one off. This is not, out of the blue. This has been happening over and over and over again. So take a look.
Talking about 7 special elections. And in every single one of them that we've had during the second Trump era, the Democratic candidates for the House have outrun the Kamala Harris baseline. Florida won last year. I remember you and I were together. 23 points, 16 points in Florida, 6. Virginia, 11, 17 points. Arizona, 7, 17 points. Tennessee, 7, 13 points. Georgia, 14, 25 points.
Yeah. So, I mean, just way outperforming what Kamala Harris did. So Republican operatives are finally starting to admit publicly what they've all been saying behind closed doors all year. I mean, we've been hearing this from other people. Oh, yeah, they say it behind closed doors, but they're afraid to admit it. And out in public, it's rah, rah, the Republican Party is so great. Well, now they're finally saying that Trump is a disaster. Republicans are going to have their asses handed to them in November if it's legitimate, if it's a fair fight, right? So, case in point, the Wall Street Journal interviewed some of these people, some of these GOP operatives. Here is what they had to say. So, there's a man named Todd Blodgett. He is a Republican activist. He is in the state of Iowa. Okay. Corn fed Iowa, guys, like ruby red Iowa at this point. He said there is a quote, darkening mood in his state, and really assigned it to Trump's actions. And then Blodgett told them this. He said, what optimism I did feel pretty much evaporated with this war. He went on to say, which is such a joke, President Trump is doing what needs to be done, but the price of fertilizer has doubled in Iowa and gas is up 35 to 40% a gallon. So much cope in that statement, right? No, Donald Trump is not doing what needs to be done. What needs to be done is to help average everyday Americans with their basic needs, with food, housing, healthcare. He is doing the exact opposite. He is running those things up. So anyway, another Republican, actually a US congressman, spoke on the record. His name is David Schweikert. So he wasn't as critical, you could say, but he did say that the midterms, quote unquote, look dour. So didn't assign any blame to Trump, didn't take issue with anything he's doing, but he admitted it looks dour. And then there's another guy named Thomas Galvin. He's a Republican county supervisor. He's in the state of Arizona. And he weighed in on the midterms as well. So here's what he had to say. He said, I think everybody would be in agreement that the Republican Party is the underdog this November. I mean, how do you get around the fact that when your party is doing well, when you are doing things for the American people that they appreciate and like, and the president is popular, you wouldn't be the underdog? That's just a simple fact. And then there's also another person they spoke with. So a Texas state representative, guy named Dade Phelan, which sounds like a place, not a person. But anyway, he said he thinks the Republicans might lose enough seats that just in his state alone, just in Texas, that it would hand Democrats the majority in the House. And then Phelan also conceded that swing voters are more likely to vote for Democrat James Tallarico in the Senate. And he said, quote, there's definitely a nervous buzz. So he is admitting, like, our candidate is whomever it ends up being, because remember, James Tallarico won the Democratic primary, but we still don't have a Republican challenger. Because in Texas and many other states, if you don't get 50 plus 1%, then it goes to a runoff. So we haven't even gotten to the runoff yet. We don't even know who's running against James Tallarico. And he's already saying, yeah, I think they're going to go for the Democrat. So the only people who appear to be completely unaware of the impending doom that's coming in November are the people in the Kool-Aid cult. They still think, and these are the people on Twitter and the people on Truth Social, they still think that Trump is doing a great job. They falsely believe that because the Democratic Party has such a low approval rating, how is the Democratic Party going to win? I mean, no one's going to come out to vote for them. They're so unpopular. Like they live in such a tightly wrapped MAGA media bubble. They just have no clue. They have no idea what's actually going on, and that you can't conflate the two. I think it was the Bulwark recently that did a big breakdown on the amount of money that individual Democratic candidates are bringing in. Like, they are bringing in massive hauls of money compared to their Republican challengers. But people aren't donating. Democratic voters are not donating to the DNC or the DCCC, to the Democratic Party apparatus and the overlords of the Democratic Party. So people want Democrats to win, and they definitely want Democratic fighters to win. But yeah, we're not happy with party leadership. If you even want to call it that. I mean, you got Chuck Schumer out last weekend, I think it was, talking about how, everything is about Israel, and it's all the land in the Middle East belongs to Israel. And, this is why we have war out there and blah, blah. I mean, and this is why we have to support them at all costs. Really? As they're murdering children, as they're slaughtering women and children and innocent men. Okay. Yeah. Totally out of touch with the base. I mean, something like 80 to 90, between 80 and 90% of Democratic voters no longer support Israel. So this is where we're at. Anyway, guys, I will let you know if I hear any more. Thank you all so much for watching and listening. Please like, share, and subscribe. Please donate if you can. Love you all. Take care. Talk with you soon.